Right, let's get started, shall we? My name is Gary Nix. I'm a real estate broker and been doing it for almost 20 years. Unlike most people that maybe been doing it for much longer than I have, I've been blessed to be in a lot of transactions and, have some insight that I can share along the way. All right. Um, and my co-speaker, Ben, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Ben Shu. I'm with First American Title, the VP of Sales here. I've been in the title industry for about 18 years. I know it says 30. My business partner and I have each been in the industry for about 18 years respectively. Seen it all, done it all, very, very familiar and experienced with both title and real estate, not just in the South Bay, but pretty much in California.
All right. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Yep.
All right. So, what are we talking about today? Okay. Is my slide gonna work? Okay. Okay. So, as it's typical with everyone, why is the slide not moving? Jesus. Okay. All right. So, as is typical with every one of us, at one point in the beginning journey of life, we buy a home, our first home, and we're very joyful about it. Whatever that first home is, it could be a condo, it could be a house, it could be an income property, and you're enjoying it and you're growing in there, right? And as time moves on, my slide is a little behind me. Okay. Okay. Oh wow, it's taking 4 clicks to get it. Okay. All right. So as time move on, I think they say, Ben, the average time a homeowner stays in a particular place is changed over the years. I remember about 5 years ago, it used to be like, or no, maybe about 10 years ago, it used to be 7 years. Now they say it's about 11 years that a family stays. Is that about correct?
Yep, that's about correct. Statewide, Southern California wide, where the average time in home has increased dramatically, with just people, especially senior citizens, not really moving out of where they are. So, yep, you're looking at around 11 years.
So about 11 years is the average that people says. And what that means is that, things change from time to time. Sometimes you're a single person when you buy that first home, and then you change to a bigger home because now you're married, you have a family and all that stuff, right? So whatever, I can only talk about my family. I remember our first house that we bought, probably like 30 something years ago. Uh, it was a single family in one particular area, and we decided that area is too far from town. We got another one, which was a smaller single family home because that was affordable to us in that area. And 7 years later, we changed to a townhouse. And lived in that townhouse for about 3 years. We decided we really prefer the single family lifestyle, and went and bought another single family home. So, whatever that journey is, as your family increase, you know what's going to work for you and what's not going to work. And then as the family gets even larger, most people go into even bigger size home, right? And that's just typical as we progress in life, right? Either as an individual, first person, moving on and growing your family to a larger home. But there comes a time in our life when we've gone beyond that. And a few things I'm finding out lately is, okay, family grows with 3 kids, we moved to a bigger house. Sorry, my slide is a little behind on my clicking today, but we'll get there. So there comes a times in our life where well, we've grown past that, and now we're looking at our ending place. Sometimes what I find out in mine is a lot of people, I still deal with that today. A lot of young people, when I get them, they want the 2-3 story home. They're excited, which is great. That's you live where your vision is at, right? But there comes a time in life when you have to reflect. Maybe now you become a empty nester, right? Can you give us, Ben? You know, I didn't prepare you for this, but if you can just share, um, when people have been uh, older, their mortgage is almost paid off. Can you give us an average of that percentage of people in the state?
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty much what we are seeing right now is that actually the vast majority, roughly around, I can't say majority, but roughly around 30% of most homeowners in any given city or any given area, at least in Southern California, and I would imagine the stat is true in Northern California as well, that 30% of the people within any given area have lived in their homes for 25 plus years. So a big, big number of the population have been in every community for over 25 years.
Yeah. And what we find out is, I can give you instances. I remember I had a couple I was helping in Carson, and the husband, he had had a stroke, and so it can move, even though they have this nice 2-story home, a master bedroom downstairs. And unfortunately, they didn't have a bedroom downstairs. And the wife had to create a bed for him downstairs because it cannot, go to the staircase. And the staircase is kind of curved and handy, so you can have a lift chair in there, at least at a time. Um, you know, there've been situations where uh, it becomes tough for you as you grow older. And there's another gentleman that I knew that he's played sports all his life, right? He was a football player, I believe, at USC actually. And again, things have gotten a little bit harder where the legs just can't uh, jump as high, but it can move fairly well in a single level environment. So we have to now consider changes, and sometimes it's just because you have this big, you know, let me not use my apology for that, but you have this big home, right? And you are the only one left. Maybe your partner is passed away, and it's just now you, and there's no kids around. And our thoughts change. Like, okay, what can I do? Uh, Sometimes we are close to our family, and we want to be closer to where the kids and the grandkids are. Sometimes it's just, to make things more convenient for us, where, okay, what can I find that's just, one step, maybe a step, single level home that I can live in. And one of the challenges that people I find out that people are in depth of is that if I make that change, what is going to be my financial situation? So, and what that means is that, obviously, if you've lived in your home for 30 years or so, you've probably paid it off, right? Uh, uh, as it happened to most people. But then when you've paid it off, now you say, okay, if I was to sell mine, what are the challenges I'm going to face? I don't want to incur new finances, at my older age. And we're going to explore the different things there. And that's why I have Ben Tyrell up here to talk about what those challenges, how to navigate through those challenges. So let's look at our next slide. All right, we kind of just, I'm a little further ahead, but that's cool. Today is really going to be a lot of Q&A after the presentation. So please don't forget, as you start asking questions, we're going to be adding you to the Wheel of Fortune. So basically, you have more things for the will to run around to your name. So we are being cognizant of that. So the more participation we have, the more we'll do. And if you ask 2 or 3 questions, we can still put you in 2, 3 times. So, and you all see the will. I'm really excited when we get there. All right. So what do we do when we faced with this kind of situation? And what I found out, most people, obviously, when you get older, you want a single level. It may be to have a better out. Some people will sell their house, go buy a beach cottage, where they can be right there by the beach. Walk around at the beach. Some people is just like, I just want convenience. You know, take me from a 2-story to a single level. Some people prefer to be in a community where they're around like people, right? Older folks like yourself. Maybe there's a community room where you can interact because the kids are far away and gone. And other people are like, hey, let me move closer to family. That's the family support I have. Now, can you give us any additional thing around that as to where people move to as they get older? What do you guys see in the exit poll on the title side?
So we actually, right now, there's a myriad of places where a lot of people go. Yes, you have a lot of where we mostly see downsizing, whether so going from a big 4-bedroom, 3 or 4 bedroom house that they raise their families in and downsize to maybe like a 1 to 2 bedroom, a 1 to 2 bedroom condo. So smaller condo, we see a lot, senior living, senior community. And over the last few years, actually, we've seen, with the big exodus, we have seen a lot of people either moving out of state or moving out of the area, whether it's to the desert, somewhere where the cost of living is much lower. We are seeing quite a bit of a move to, other counties, Riverside, San Bernardino, and out of state. But primarily, you're looking at either, I don't want senior communities, 55 and older communities, and also, just smaller condos that's easier to maintain, easier to manage.
All right. So, interesting thing is I'm actually coming across more people lately that they are at their retirement position, they are looking more for almost a dream environment, right? Something that they've envisioned all their life, like, okay, I've acquired this much equity. What can that dream environment be for me? Again, it could be, closer to the beach. It could be a bigger home further away from, but still, you see that they want to move from that 2-story to a single-story, bigger home that they can manage much more efficiently. All right, so so it could be this, it could be I was sliding just a little slow, but we can see that this is kind of like looking into the next opportunity of life or next phase of our life as to what's possible. Now, what we're going to uncover today is really a lot of Q&A around when we decide to make this move, what are the things that we want to consider? Okay, all right. So now most people don't want to, what I'm finding out, most people don't want to move to a condo with steps, right? If it's a condo, they want something that has an elevator that's going to take them to their unit. So it's, when you get steps, you want to avoid that. So again, this is kind of couple that move from a condo to a more manageable single level outfit. Okay. Oh, all right. So what I wanted to uncover is most people are worried that when they make this move, what happens to their taxes? Something about Uncle Sam that deter a lot of people from making choices, right? Like, how much am I going to have to pay to Uncle Sam? I don't want to pay any money. How can I avoid that? So I'm gonna let you explain where does capital gain comes to play, and then I will talk about the way to, either eliminate it or minimize it. That's why I'm gonna share with people. So capital gain, obviously, if you are a single person on an owner-occupied home, right? Ben, I'll let you talk about that. Okay.
Yeah, so basically with how and I'll let you talk about the exemptions, Gary. Basically with capital gains, it's Uncle Sam taxing you on the equity of your property. Okay, so let's say you purchase a property for $300,000. It's now worth $1 million because you bought it back in the 1970s, 80s. Now it's worth $1 million. You have $700,000 in gains on that property, and there is an exemption if that was your owner occupied property that Gary will tell you the numbers on. But that amount, the equity, is taxable just like if you had stocks or any other appreciating asset where they can tax you for the money that you've earned.
Okay. So now the exemption is if you're a single person, you are protected for 250,000, right? And if you are two people or a couple that got the same, thing, you are protected for 500,000. Is that correct?
That is correct. So you do get as a single individual, you get a $250,000 exemption. So on my example, let's say, I'm going to do it for numbers' sake. If you bought a house for $250,000, it's now worth $700,000. You get a $250,000 exemption on the profit, so you can sell your house. If you bought it for $250,000 and you sold it for $700,000, $500,000 of that is tax exempt, so you're only taxed on the $200,000 above your $250,000. If you are a married couple or a married couple, you get up to $500,000 exemption. So same example. If you bought your house for $250,000, you're now tax exempt up to a number of $750,000, or up to a valuation of $750,000.
Oh, okay. I didn't actually look at it like that. So what you're adding is, okay, you're adding the original purchase price plus the exemption amount. So as a single person, you're protected for 500 in that scenario of 250 to 750.
Yep.
And as a couple, you're protected for 750.
Yep.
All right, that's great. That's great. Oh wow, thank you for sharing that. I've never really looked at it that way. I just looked at the profit part where you're protected from, but you're actually protected for the purchase price and the profit. Okay, so now there is a form 593 that you generally if you're in escrow that you will be required to fill out. So just like it was telling you, if the property qualify as a primary residence, you just click on number 1 as a primary residence, right? Then on the second side of this form is where, this is where I just wanted to give people insight as to it's not all of that you have to pay money back on. It's just getting an understanding of how you can write it off. So for example, let's take it a little bit further. In that scenario, because if you're 250 and you're protected and you're basically only paying $100,000, I don't think anybody have a problem paying taxes on that 100,000. But I think in a scenario where you bought a house, if you bought it 25 years ago, you probably paid 200,000 or less for it, right? And today that house is probably going to sell for over $1 million, right? So let's say you bought it for 200,000, and now you're selling for $1 million. Now, if you're an individual, so just like you said, you have 250 plus 200 in which you're covered, that you don't pay any capital gain. But what I want people to see, I don't know if we have the second page of this 593.
Yes, there is, Gary.
Yeah, she did. Awesome. So on the second page of this 593C, 593 form, you see on line number 13, you have the selling price. So let's say your selling price is now $1 million, and I'm just gonna give the scenario of individual, right? And you have what they call the selling expenses, right? Your closing costs on selling. So you have the commissions, you have title, you have escrow fees and all that stuff. And so you can put all that in there. Now, I had recently a situation where in order for the couple to sell the house, we had to do a lot of renovation in the house. And I had a contractor that was really good enough to help them do all the renovation, and it became part of the selling expense. So they spend almost 100,000, maybe 123,000 in renovation. So we paid that at the close of escrow. So that was part of their selling expense. So including the fees to sell it. So we make the selling expense, what it is. It costs them almost $200,000 to get it right. And then what I want you to see is in line 16, 17, 18. Well, let me see. I don't want to be doing this up by myself. Ben, what do you see as depreciation and seller transfer paid points and stuff like that? What would that mean to you?
So the depreciation would be the depreciation of the property, and there is a depreciation scale that you can typically use. Did you say seller paid points?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the seller paid points or transfer paid points would be any fees, any points that the seller may have paid to the buyer during the sale of the property.
Okay, so if they have a closing cost credit that they gave, whatever,
Yeah.
that would be better. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the depreciation, what exactly is the percentage of the depreciation over the years, right?
Yeah, it is over the years. And to be honest, and I apologize, I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I can pull it up pretty
Even
quickly.
if it's a 0.5%, right? Over the years,
Yeah,
you can say, okay, your depreciation costs you maybe $25,000 every year or something like that, that you can put in for 20 years and add it up. So you add that up, and then if over the years, if you've had some expenses that you put into the house, you can also add that up. So this is where you can say, okay, I've lived in a house for 25 years. I've had to put a new roof. I've had to put a new flooring. I've had to do the kitchen. I've had to do so. I had the one lady like, hey, Gary, I think it's sufficient for me to say I've spent $300,000 in the last 25 years. I said, yeah, it's whatever it is you spend. I don't really think, unless you go way out of, I spent $1 million in my house, that's when you have a red flag. So you can put that cost of maintenance of the house over the years. And if it's 300, if it's 250, especially in California, where the cost of doing everything is expensive, is justifiable. So now when you're gonna do all of that, and then if you see cost of addition and improvement, so if you had to add a room, a toilet, all that stuff, you can also put that in there. So that's on line 22. And so you're gonna add all of those up, and then you're gonna subtract it from the purchase price. So what am I saying here? I don't know if your home. I have one couple that bought their house 35 years ago in PV for 35,000, and the house is now worth 1.5 million. I think that's a little bit different, right? So, even though they were able to claim a depreciation and cost of improvements of about close to 500,000, which is justifiable again in that area, right? They still got hit with almost 300,000 of profit to pay capital gains on. So that's fair. But if you're selling it for $1 million, And even as a single person, you have your 200 and 250, your 450. You can easily have cost of depreciation, repairs over the years of 250 to 300, right? So now if you have a $1 million sale, you have a cost of sale of 75,000. You have your protection of 450, and you spend 250 on it. How much do you have left? Not a whole lot that you're paying taxes on. So people get worked up like, how much am I gonna pay taxes on? So that's why I want people to actually see. Does anybody have question? Because I think this is kind of like an area where most people will have question that we can explore more. Let me just take those. I'll bring the slide back on in a minute. Does anybody have questions on this? Okay. I know these numbers are pretty big, for people to ask question. Okay, so let me, okay. I gotta,
Someone has a question, Gary.
okay,
The Samsung lady.
okay. It's okay. Hi. Yes, go ahead and ask a question.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Earlier, they had said for the $500,000, earlier the guy was saying something about for a married couple. So if you have two people in your house, but you're not married, would you still be able to qualify for the 500? Do it have to be married?
It would have to be married, or you'd have to file your taxes together. So it could be a domestic partnership, but it would have to be either married or domestic partners. If it's two friends on title, so you're talking about if it's like two friends on title, right?
Well, because it's my dad is my co-signer, so I was trying to figure out, do we qualify?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
if
individually, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you would be able to take 250, 250.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. So I know these are the numbers that we're pulling out, and numbers are really, people always have to think through the numbers to say, hey, can I ask? But I just want you to see that all of this is not as bad as it can be. In even for investment home, although this is not the platform for that, but if you're selling an investment home and same kind of scenario, like, okay, we're selling a house, we bought it, you're still protected for what you bought it for. You just don't get the capital gain protection on an investment home. So let's say you bought a home that's an investment, you bought it for 350, and now you're selling it for 950. You have your cost of sale. You have the 350 you protected on, and in that case, you're just gonna have to look at all expenses you spend on the property or depreciation on the property. You can deduct that, and what else? What else can you deduct for investment? Oh, if you have rents that was never collected. I had a gentleman that had an investment home. One of the reasons why he was selling it is he had a renter that lived there for 2 years that didn't pay rent. So he has to keep, paying the rent, paying the mortgage himself. So you can collect all of that back. You can depreciate, you can minus it from your, because you have, cost of other increases to base or adjustment basis. You have where you can deduct all of that. And in that situation where they're selling it for 950, they bought it for 350, really they had to pay the capital gains on 200,000. They have profit, so they have to pay the capital gain, but you can still write off all these expenses against it, and you know, so it doesn't look as bad. And yeah, so on $200,000, how much is the capital gain? Is it 25 or 35%?
Capital gains in California, you're looking at close to 33%.
33%. Okay, so in a $200,000, you're looking about 66,000 they have to pay.
Yeah.
You know, so it is what it is, but they still can carry their money to go do whatever they want to do. So that's where I want people to see. All right, I think this is okay. All right. So now let's talk about Proposition 19. How does that affect you know, homeowners that's buying, you know, selling their owner occupied home to go buy something else?
So Prop 19, so Prop 19 is a law that came into effect in 2021. Okay, and basically it came, just to give you guys a little bit of a background, it came on the heels of, there used to be Prop 6, what we call Prop 6090, which was a downsizer's law. What happens is, you know, let's say you purchase your property for $300,000 back in the or $200,000 back in the 1980s. Fast forward, you know, 20, 40 years, your property is now worth $700,000. Okay, now this has all to do with property taxes. Okay, if you bought your property for about $200,000 in 1980s, you're paying somewhere in the ballpark of $2,000 to $3,000 in property taxes. Okay, it was based on the assessed value that you purchased the property for at that time. Fast forward 40 years, if you were to buy another property for $700,000 today, your property taxes would be north of $7,000. Pretty big difference. Prop 6090, what that did was it allowed senior citizens as a one-time transfer to either purchase a property of equal or lesser value and carry over their property tax. So you can you can buy a $700,000 house and bring over and carry over your current property tax of $3,000. Okay, because what we find is that, you know, especially senior citizens that are on fixed income, if they're only paying $2,000 to $3,000 in property taxes, you know, the $7,000, the increase to $7,000 is a big hit, and it prevented a lot of seniors from moving or downsizing. So the previous law, Prop 6090, allowed for senior citizens to carry over the tax and be able to downsize and, you know, carry over the taxes so that they're paying the same tax. Prop 19 expanded that. Like I said, it came out in 2021, and it expanded a lot of the provisions of Prop 6090. How so? Number one, the biggest one, is that you now can carry over your tax base. It doesn't have to be of equal or lesser value. You can purchase something of greater value as well and just pay the difference. Okay, so let's say same scenario, you bought it for $200,000, property is worth $700,000. You sell it for $700,000, but you go buy a house that's even bigger, closer to the beach, bigger yard, closer to wherever, for $800,000. So now you get to carry over the tax up to the $700,000 value and just pay the difference of the $100,000 difference in tax for your upgrade. Okay, does that make sense? So you're carrying over tax, you're just paying the difference and not an entirely different new tax of, you know, a little over $8,000 for the $800,000 house. It's only going to be your $3,000 plus like $1,000 difference. Okay. The other thing that it expanded is that you're not only limited to doing it one time, you can do it up to 3 times now. Okay, and it's not only just for seniors, and they say seniors, they count seniors as 55 and older. That's pretty young, but you know, we'll take the 55. So any individual 55 and over can do this. They can do it up to 3 times. And and it's also expanded to victims of wildfire and natural disaster. So a lot of the wildfires that we had out in San Bernardino, whatnot, if you lose your house, you can purchase a new one and carry over the tax base. And I believe those also handicapped individuals are allowed this as well, without the age requirements.
Okay, so it really expanded out. So I don't know if I have a breakdown of it. Okay, I think you kind of tell us how much it affects us and the kind of tax. So I do have a scenario here. You were kind of hitting small numbers, and I just want us to be realistic in terms of California, what we deal with, right? So when you're selling your property for $1 million, is that what I have down there? I can't even see it myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
1,200,000.
Okay,
1,200,000.
so 1 million, and you buy a property at 1,250,000. Okay, so and let's say you, okay, I don't know, I can see what I was showing up on screen because I have people. Okay, no, that's not what I want. Let me go back to that one. Okay, so let me move where people are showing up because I can see. All right, thank you. I can see better. All right. So if you're selling your property for 1 million, and let's use the scenario that you bought it for 250,000, right? You buy and then you buy a new property for 1,250,000. Let's just take it a little bit higher because we're in California. Even though sometimes you can move to a smaller or bigger place, whatever that may be, right? So you carry your tax base for up to $1 million and only pay the 250 original tax base, which is what he was talking about, right? So what does that mean? I want to give you guys a good sense of this. What's the tax rate in California right now? Is it 1.21 or 1.25?
Roughly it depends on the city, but yeah, roughly 1.1, 1.2 was the average.
Okay, so let's just leave it at 1.1 then. So if you're buying a new property for 1.25, normally at 1.1, you're looking about $13,000 tax for the year. So of course, you know, if you have an escrow account, they will divide it by 12 months. So you'll be paying a little over 1,100 per month on your taxes, right? That's what you'll be paying. Now, imagine you carry a tax base of 250,000, which is $2,500 a year. You divide it by 12 months. That's I don't know my numbers very well on that, but let's just say about $200 a month, or $250 a month. It's actually about $200. So $200 a month, up to $1 million. And now you have a new 250,000 tax base that you're paying 1.1 on. So another basically $200. So now you have a $400 monthly tax base compared to $1,100 monthly tax base. Isn't that, you know, significant? That's $700 in mortgage payment that you avoid. And so what he's saying is that's available when you're 55 years and over, even for handicapped people. You know, I have a daughter that's handicapped. No, I mean, I don't like to say handicapped. I like to say special people. I call them special people. If you have a special people that bought a property, that's also extended to them, even though when they're not 55. Now, I believe this used to be like in a specific county that you're in, and now they move it to throughout the state, correct?
Correct. It's through the entire state of California.
Yeah. So now, anywhere you move to, if you decide to move from LA County to Riverside County or San Bernardino County, you can still take that with you there. So that saves people a lot of money in making that move, and not that move really breaking you, you know, down. Now, of course, if you're moving to a smaller place, you say yes for $1 million, you go buy an even bigger house somewhere else, but now it costs you $750,000. But you know, again, you can still carry the tax base. Instead of paying $7,500, you're paying $2,500 yearly taxes. All right. All right. So scenario 2, you sell your property for 1 million and buy a property less than 1 million. you will get to carry tax base of the old property, which is what I just said. Look at me, I'm moving a lot faster than my slide does. Okay. All right. Any questions on this? Because people get kind of hung up a little bit on this. Does anybody have questions on this? Okay. So far, Kimberly, thank you very much for asking questions. So we're gonna put you twice on the slide because I know she's showing us 1X Samsung, but that's Kimberly. So put her in on the wheel. Okay. Yeah, what do I have? Let's see. And the slide. Okay. All right. All right. Do we have any more slides to show after that? Is that it? So Q&A. So any questions, guys? Now I wanted to let you know we have a wheel of fortune that we're gonna roll through, and the more question anybody asks, the more we'll put your name on the wheel. Anybody have any questions around this stuff? How you can move without affecting you at all. So we'll find out we can save money. If you have 2 people on title, you can save $500,000 of capital gains. So basically you don't, depending on how much profit you're making, plus the coverage of what you buy your house for. So we can be good on that. Okay. Now let me ask a question. If they're selling the house, do they still have the capital gain protection if they're moving out of state?
Yes. Yes, that's it is a federal IRS tax deduction. So if they move out of state, they still do have that exemption.
Okay. So it's just that you don't, the only thing you don't get out of state is move the tax base
The
out
tax
of state.
base, the property
But
tax.
the capital gain protection you have
Yes.
to go
Yep.
with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we do have a lot of people that that sell their house and they go buy something in Texas or whatever. Texas is like a big one that a lot of people go to.
Yep.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, if we have anything you want to add to it, Ben?
Yeah, two things I'm gonna add for you guys, because I do get these questions a lot. For the federal tax exemption, if you're a married couple with 500,000, let's say your spouse passes away. Okay, if your spouse passes away, you have up to 2 years, okay, to sell the house and still take the $500,000 exemption. Okay, if it's after the 2 years, you're back down to the 250 as a widowed single individual. All right, so something to be cognizant of. Prop 19, there is a second portion of Prop 19 where, let's say previously, if you inherit a property, okay, like your parents pass away and you inherit the property, the tax base doesn't go up. You just get the property, and now the tax base stays the same for you, whether you decide to live there or rent it out. That is no longer the case. If your parents pass away, the tax base, the property taxes will be assessed to current market value. Okay, so like in your scenario, if they bought the property at $200,000, it's now worth $1 million. Upon the death of the last parent, the property tax will be assessed to the $1 million range. The only way to avoid that is if it was your parents' primary residence, and you then move into the house and make it your primary residence, that is the only way to keep their tax base. Otherwise, it's going to be reassessed to market value. Okay. Right. So something very, very important to think about, especially with all of us with older parents, if they have, their primary property or if they have investment properties, if they were to pass, the property tax will be reassessed.
Okay, so let me ask question on that. So if your parents passed away and you inherit the property, and let's say your parents have 3 properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
you inherit the properties and you selling them. Because I remember I had actually one of my neighbors, he passed away and his brother inherited his property. But that was a few years back. So I believe at that time he didn't have to pay any taxes, but that has changed now.
Correct. That went into effect also in 2021, along the same passage, with the Prop 19 passage, where if your parents have 3, let's say they own 3 properties, they live in one of them, 2 of them they rent out. Okay, the ones that the 2 of them that they rent out, that's going to be reassessed regardless. Okay, no ways around that.
Right away.
The one that they live in, the only way for it to not be reassessed is if one of their children moves in and makes it their primary residence.
And is there a time frame they have to move in, for that?
Yeah, they have 1 year.
Okay. So up to a year, if they sell it, they can still claim, as an owner, the ownership part, right?
So they actually have to move in within that year to claim the ownership part. If they sell it, they have to, if they sell it, to claim it, it has to be 2 parts. They have to move in, make it their primary, and then sell it within a year. Okay. Otherwise, if you just sell it, you get a tax bill for the time period that the parents passed away and when you sell it.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. All right. Awesome. I guess I'm asking all the questions for everybody. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming in and staying to the end. Let's go ahead. I just want to make sure in the parting, because I know this is a seller workshop. It's not everybody that's in that place. Does anybody have any question they wanted to ask before we roll the wheel of fortune? Okay, Kimberly, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a question. I have a friend, her mom and okay, it's her sister, and her mom on the house. Her mom passed away, and I was asking her, did her property taxes went up? Because mine went up last year, and she told me no. She was telling me something that like her mom was like 70 years old, and she was under where like something where she inherited where the property taxes didn't go up because she was like 70 or something. Like, can you guys piggyback on that? Because I really didn't understand what she was telling me.
Actually, real simple. Because they were all 3 of them were on title together already. That doesn't count. That doesn't trigger the reassessment because the sister, your friend and her sister and mom all 3 were already on title. So when mom passes away, the sisters the ownership just went to them. There's no inheritance tax trigger there. That the inheritance tax trigger only happens if, let's say, mom and dad were on title and they both passed away, and then you acquired it either through probate or a trust or a will. That's where the tax exemption happens, the tax trigger happens for the property tax increase.
Okay. But she was telling me that her property taxes don't go up like mine's, because she was
So
saying that her
is
mom
that
was
like a
under,
tax? That could be a tax exempt.
yeah, she was saying her mom's qualified for like a tax exempt.
That would be a tax exempt for the property taxes going up.
Yeah, because mine's went up last year, and I asked her, did her property taxes went up? We both live in the same city.
Yeah.
And she told me no, because her mom filled out a paper or something where she was exempt from her taxes going up because she was on a fixed income or something like that.
Okay, yeah, so that would be a special scenario that her mom had. A special situation that her mom had. Otherwise, your taxes typically will go up about 2% a year, unless it was a down market and property values didn't increase.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I think Miss Kimberly, Got a whole lot of names on the wheel. I would be surprised if you don't win these tickets. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and roll the wheel of fortune. Thank you, everybody.